Hey everyone, welcome to the Decorative Den, a look inside my craft room where I share all things crafting, planning, and DIY. My name is Charity and I am so happy to have you here with me today. I'm going to be sharing with you a easy DIY project that allows you to store and display all of those planner clips and planner charms that I know you probably have laying around somewhere. Mine were all definitely shoved in a drawer in my craft room, and I only really got to see them and enjoy them when they were in my planners. And so something I've been meaning to do for a long time is get them on display on the wall in my craft room so I can see them and enjoy them and actually access them pretty easily now. So I hope that this project is helpful for you as well. And I will say I am using embroidery hoops for this project because that fits kind of the crafty handmade aesthetic of my craft room. However, you can totally adapt these steps and instead use a picture frame with the glass removed in case that fits your decor style a little better. But anyway, enough with this intro, let's start this project. So the first one I'm going to show you is the planner clip display. And for this project, the first thing you are going to need is an embroidery hoop. And this can really be any size that you want, depending on how many clips you'd like it to hold and display. I'm using an 8-inch embroidery hoop, and I'm going to have 2 rows for my planner clips. Now, in addition to your embroidery hoop, you are going to need some kind of fabric. I recommend cotton fabric, and I am using this white fabric from a scrap pack I got at Walmart. In addition to that, you are going to need a pair of scissors and some hot glue. And then there are a few other tools you might find helpful that aren't pictured here. So those would be a ruler, an iron, and some pliers to tighten your hoop. All right, so the first step is just to wash and dry your fabric to get out any existing folds and creases. Then you're going to take your hoop and layer the fabric over the inside or bottom portion of the hoop, however you like to think about it. And then I'm going to just take my fabric and fold upwards, creating essentially what will be a little pocket to slip our clips into. Now, I recommend making these folds about 1 inch deep, and so it is helpful to have a ruler on hand to just double check to make sure that your folds are 1 inch deep and kind of even across. I had to take my fabric and kind of unfold and refold a few times just to make sure everything was centered and even. The most important thing here, if you are making a display with multiple rows, is just making sure that there is enough space in between each of the rows for your planner clips to sit, and also making sure that the 2 pockets run parallel to one another and that they look even. So once I had that set, I just took my fabric over to the ironing board and I ironed those folds just to make sure there was a nice crisp crease. But this step really is optional. It will work without that if you don't have an iron or don't want to be bothered with ironing. So once that is set, the next step is to just pull your fabric so that it is stretched tight across the hoop. And for this step, I kind of went very slow and alternated back and forth between pulling on my fabric and stretching it and then going and tightening the actual hoop. And I found that taking this kind of slow and going back and forth between the 2 methods was really best, because if you pull too hard on your fabric or go a little too fast, it's really easy to mess up those nice pockets we just made. And so that's why I would recommend just taking your time and kind of going back and forth between stretching the fabric and then tightening the hoop. And once that's done, it is time to finish off the hoop. So I'm just going to grab my scissors and cut off all the excess material, leaving about 1/2 inch of fabric around the edge. I'm then going to grab my hot glue gun and put a small line of hot glue on the exposed wood in the inside of the hoop and use that to secure my fabric to the hoop. And this just gives our display a nice finished look from the front and also ensures that our fabric is secure for when we start adding clips to this display. And that's it. This one is done and ready for some planner clips. All right, so moving on to our planner charm storage. This project uses a lot of the same materials. So again, you're going to need an embroidery hoop. I am using a 6-inch hoop and I'm going to have 2 rows of charms. You're also going to need your fabric and then some type of baker's twine, cord, ribbon. The key is that whatever material you're using is thin enough for the lobster clasps on the charms to fit around it. So I am using some thin ribbon. And then in addition to that, I have my scissors, my hot glue, and you may also want your ruler, pliers, and an iron. So the first step here, just like before, is washing and drying my scrap of fabric. And I actually just ran my iron over this quickly to make sure that it was nice and crisp with no creasing or folds. Then just like before, I layered the fabric over the bottom half or inside portion of my embroidery hoop. I then grabbed my ribbon and cut 2 strands, making sure they stretched fully across the hoop widthwise. And just like with the pockets, the key here is just making sure that you leave enough room for your charms to dangle in between the 2 rows, and also making sure that the ribbon is running parallel and even and just centered the way you want it. And just like before, it took me a couple tries to get this exactly how I want it to be, but once I did, I just started the same process of slowly tightening my fabric, making sure it was stretched fully across the hoop, as well as tightening the ribbon, and then alternating that with tightening the actual hoop. And so just like before, I found that the slower you go and the more you alternate between tightening the hoop and pulling on the material, the easier it is to keep everything lined up straight. Now, once that's secure, I'm going to finish off the hoop again by just cutting off the excess material, leaving about 1/2 inch on the outside. And then I'm going to grab my glue gun, and just like before, I want to secure the fabric to the inside of the hoop where the wood is exposed. But this time I'm going to specifically start in the places where the ribbon is. So I'm going to start by adding just a dab of hot glue to the wood and securing the fabric to that, and then putting a second dab of hot glue on the fabric and securing the ribbon to the fabric. And I found it helpful to just use my ruler to hold the ribbon down so that way I didn't accidentally burn myself on the hot glue. And I'm just going to do that same thing with all 4 ends of the ribbon, and then I'm going to move on and secure the rest of the fabric to the hoop using the same method I did for the planner clip display. And now this one is done and ready for some planner charms. All right, guys, that will do it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed this project and maybe feel inspired to make a planner clip and charm display of your own. I really love this project and I had a lot of fun sharing it with you. It is so nice to have all my charms and clips on my wall, easy to see, easy to access, and not just shoved in a drawer and forgotten about. But if you did like this video, please hit the like button for me so I know, and consider subscribing if you are interested in other crafting, planning, and DIY videos. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.